Welcome to Spark and Scale, the show for higher ed leaders learning, experimenting, and evolving how we shape our future. I'm your host, Mickey Baines. Come and join me. It's time to get started. I've been waiting for about 5 weeks, maybe, Drew, to record this show, this particular episode. Don't know, as we launch this season, if I look at the first 8 episodes of content that we have, I don't know that there's one more important than this one. And I don't want to diminish the other topics because everything I've recorded to date for the show, everyone, is I think, really timely and really critical. But this one, I think, has a lot of work to do as we rethink around this topic. So before we dive into the topic, let me introduce everybody to Drew. Drew Schweppe, you're the CEO of Search Tides, a strategic marketing agency that ensures clients are not only visible, but are the answer in AI search platforms like ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity, which really is what we're going to get into. So Drew, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Mickey. Happy to be here.
So we're going to really start diving in today about the impact of AI, specifically looking at tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, those 3 main tools that most everyday users in their personal lives, at least, are using AI, and the impact of those tools on search in general, how that's impacting already, even more so in the future, the amount of visits and traffic we get to a site, how sites are converting, because more and more folks are shifting those searches off of Google or whatever other search engine you're using onto these tools. And so let me give you an example. If you've been thinking about it or you've heard about it, but you've not really put thought into it yet, I can say, anyone that knows me knows my son's a senior in high school. We've been going through the college search process. We started very early for him. We started spring of his sophomore year. We visited 23 campuses. We've inquired with another 20-something. We look at everything that those schools send us, or I do, especially because it's my job. It's a fun thing to get to do with your family, to experience 2 ways. But over the course of the search, one afternoon, I think it was a Friday, it was a Thursday or Friday afternoon, I came downstairs from work, and my wife was on her phone. And I was asking her what she was doing. So she was on ChatGPT. And she had just decided to take some of the information. At this point, we had narrowed down our search to probably around 9 or 10 schools. I say our son had narrowed it down, and we just help in the research, and we just are always curious about things. So she was taking a subset of them to understand some differences about those schools based on our son's interest and needs. So, and I don't always say a whole lot about this on LinkedIn in our posts, because I do post about it regularly. One of the criteria really for our son is he has celiac, so no gluten in his food. So thinking about a kid going off to college and ensuring that they have the right nutrition available, that they can actually have a lot of flexibility in their meals as much as possible, that it's going to be good food, that it's not, oh, here's the 3 cafeterias and over there that those 2 dishes are the 2 repeated things that you get every night or every 2 nights in the cafeteria. Like we want better for him than that. So we started on that, and what really occurred, that was kind of where the search started. And what occurred from that is we started looking, we'll talk about the academic programs, and ChatGPT would give us all this information, all the schools, and we said, well, how does this school compare on this type of, let's just say it was economics, a Bachelor of Arts versus a Bachelor of Science. How does this school compare to this school? And we really then got to a subset of 3 schools, and we kept going, and by the end, ChatGPT, the way it operates is, would you like me to offer you some recommendations based on this information? Sure. We had one on food, then we had one on the academics, and we had one on social life, because we just kept going. And by the end, we had it give us a recommendation on how we would rank those priorities based on everything we gave it about our son and his interests and how each of those schools fit that. And we did that without ever going to any of those school sites. That is going to be the search process going forward for many, many students. That is what's going to limit the number of visits that you have. And I don't know that that means that every prospective student will now not be on your site, but the number of times they will be on your site will definitely be less, which means the amount of influence you have on them on your site is reduced. So as we think about the impact of that, how do we ensure, because this is the other search that will happen, that's going to happen. ChatGPT, I'm looking for schools within 2 hours of my home that have this program. And it goes, and how do you ensure that you're on that list? Because when it gives those schools, and I've actually repeated that search just like that, it's going to give me 9 or 10 schools. Well, there are, I don't know how many, 60, 50, 100 within 2 hours of my home. So how do you get to be one of those 10? That was the question. And Drew, you and I met 3 months ago, 4 months ago. This was already on my mind. And at Search Tides, you found an answer to this. How do I ensure I'm on the site? So let me shut up there. Let you speak a little bit and say, tell us a little bit about Search Tides and what you're doing and how you're thinking about AI. And then let's talk specifically about this and how you're solving for it.
Absolutely. Well, I think that you are experiencing what most people, at least that I know, are these days, where our behavior has completely shifted from the traditional self-research model of trudging through Google, pages, and we are going to one place, whatever our preferred friendly chatbot is, whether it's OpenAI or Claude, Perplexity, and we are having a discussion with AI to help us make a decision. And this is happening on all levels of decision making, whether you're purchasing something, you want a recommendation, you want to chat something out with a friend, quote unquote. What we're doing now is we are having discussions that are really influencing the decisions that we make. So at Search Tides, we've been around since 2013, and our specialty is understanding how algorithms work. So for many years, we understood very quickly what changes Google was making and what our clients needed to do to adjust to maintain their rankings and their traffic, and as a result, their revenue immediately after these Google rankings, up. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve there because it took us less time than the majority of the industry. And what we've been able to do is apply the same principles that we did to traditional search to the behavior that people are having today with AI search in these platforms like ChatGPT. So we have basically understood the layers that AI uses to understand and digest and then put information back out to you in these platforms.
So as you have learned more and more and progressed, I want to pause for 1 second and ask, I think, a good clarifying question. Because as in the work that I do, especially when it comes to technology, one of the things we always have to do is have some definitions. Let's be sure that when we're talking about something, it could be your enrollment funnel. What are the stages of enrollment funnel? It could be other general terms that we use, and having clarity around that is really important. So here, I want to have some clarity. So there are a lot of labels people put on this. I hear, maybe not a lot. There are several labels people on this. AEO, GEO, AIO. Is there a particular label that we should be using? How do you see the differences between those? Is there really any difference between any of those labels?
Yeah, some people feel very strongly that there are, and other people feel very strongly that there are not. I fall more into the latter category there. So AEO is usually referred to as Answer Engine Optimization, which is a platform that you are looking for an answer from. So you're optimizing to get that answer. Answer Engine Optimization, Generative Engine Optimization, all of this AI stuff that is driven by large language models, LLMs for short. This is basically the function of generative AI, which means that it is predicting the next word based on what normally happens and in its internal syntax and how it works. So that's like the very technical answer for it. AIO is, I would assume, artificial intelligence optimization. People also call it SEO again, which is search everywhere optimization. For me and at Search Tides, we like to just call it AI search, and we think that sums it up fine. Some people get into the nuances of the differences of all of these things, but at the end of the day, what we are doing is we are making sure that our clients are visible and the answer to the question that people are having with these online AI chatbots.
Okay, awesome. So thank you for the clarity. I think I'm in your camp. At the end of the day, whatever you want to call it, the outcome needs to be I show up on ChatGPT. I show up on Perplexity. I show up on Claude. That's what I want. Call it what you want. Just get me there.
Exactly.
That's my, it's a crude interpretation, but that's the outcome. I'm looking for the outcome, not necessarily the label.
True.
So what's that quote from Schitt's Creek? I like wine, not the label. Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's yeah. I want the outcome, not the label. So
right.
So How have you, tell us a little bit about the process and where you are today, and how can we, let me rephrase this question. How can we understand why we are or are not? What are the key things that might be holding our site back from being referenced in a search like that?
Yeah, so we've broken this down into 5 layers that everybody needs to be prepared for and to have a plan for. And these 5 layers are the things that influence AI's decision making. I'm happy to go through them right now if that's.
Let's say what the five are, and then we
Yeah.
might dive into just to a couple.
Okay, so the first one is the identity layer, and that is about who you are, who your customers are, who your students are, and these are in places that you control, like your website and socials. Then there's the language layer, and that is what other people are saying about you on sites that you don't control, and how that influences how AI interprets you as well. Then there's the distribution layer. Are you listed in for universities as an example? Are you on the best of lists for the programs that you want to be? Because AI needs to know how far reaching you are and can it trust you, and are you on these places? Then there's the data layer. We are, of course, making sure that the content that is written is displayed so that myself and you and other prospective students and humans can understand it and read it. At the end of the day, it is a robot and a machine that has to first interpret and metabolize this information. So making sure that your data is structured correctly so that AI can understand it is super important. And then the last one is the integrity layer. So the integrity layer is all about making sure that you are credible to AI. It's making sure that you are positioned in places that the AI can understand you as a credible source. You might remember in the early days of ChatGPT, you would type something in and ask a question, and ChatGPT would just completely make something up or give you false information. It would hallucinate. Because of what we're calling the integrity layer now, AI is essentially going out, validating and verifying this information because it's able to search the internet more so now than it was. And it's able to basically say, okay, this is an authoritative source or program based on that. So that's the integrity layer.
Okay. So one of the layers that you mentioned, I want to touch on the outside influence, where the sites you don't control.
Yeah.
I imagine that's going to matter a lot for folks in higher ed.
Yeah.
What are some of those sites that might be referenced there that we don't have control over?
Yeah, so I think it goes anywhere from the Reddits of the world to what is that like horrible site like RateMyProfessor.com
Yeah.
or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
There's
Which, by the way, was a source as we were doing some questions about GPT, because we started looking at faculty, the credentials of faculty and how they teach, and that was a source that GPT listed.
Exactly. So what other people say about you and your college, it influences how AI understands you. So for me, I went to school to write classical music. So if I was searching for colleges today, I'd probably have conversations with ChatGPT and I'd be like, what do students say about the orchestral program at this college or that college? And it's very, very likely that because I'm asking for the interpretation of others, that it would be summarized based on these review sites that students share their unfiltered opinion on. And even if I'm not asking for someone's opinion, AI often goes to these sites that are not controlled by the university and uses that as the source of information anyways.
So one of the things that you said that is that through this question in my mind is, so what that tells me then is the questions, and maybe this is not telling me, this is more, I'm thinking out loud here. The questions that people are asking might be different questions in ChatGPT than they were in search. So if I had optimized a site on SEO, that might need to be changed simply because the questions are going to be different now that I'm asking, even if you're asking Google Gemini, I'm just searching in a different way than I was before, potentially. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, there's definitely overlap, but so on a technical level, the average query, which is what you call when you're asking a question to either a search engine or an AI search tool, is much longer when you're having a conversation with ChatGPT versus
Yes.
just Google, because you're literally having a conversation. You give context. You say, I'm looking to do pre-med because of this is my background. These are the things that are important to me. I live here. These are, the types of professors I like. And you're giving a lot of context. Now, when you go to Google in the past, you're not going to give all that context. You're going to say, I'm looking at like best pre-med schools, Northeast United States or something like that, or most affordable or best job placement or things like that. So what we're doing and seeing now is that how AI search tools like ChatGPT work is it's taking a lot more context, and then it's doing what's called fanning out and searching a lot of what it already knows about your topic that you're trying to research, as well as what the internet says about it. So the way that you used to optimize things for Google, while there's some overlap in best practices that still apply, it is largely different in the ways that you need to think about it because of all that context and the way that this is actually a discussion.
That is absolutely the way it happens. I struggle. I was never a good search engine person. My wife preferred her do the search that we were both interested in before me because I never liked the results to come back. I was never good at it. Never developed that skill. But the conversation I have now with ChatGPT is made my ability to search even worse in Google because I now have way more context and I don't like typing in the Google search engine. So I do everything personally. Everything, all of the searches in ChatGPT. I also don't have to worry about sponsored things taking over the first page of results that I need to toggle off of just to see a true organic answer that Google has, which I hate anyway. And so, now I find that I ask all those questions there. So here's the thing, what do I do about this? If I'm worried about this, if I'm putting myself in the shoes of a chief marketing officer or a director of marketing, director of the website, where do I begin?
Yeah.
To start to address this?
It's a great question. So the number one thing that you can do immediately and that we have our clients do collaboratively with us is really, really understanding that first layer, the identity layer. Who are you as a university? What do you represent as a university? What programs do you excel at? And who are the students that you want to attract? Who are you for? And then also, who are you not for? And really, really doubling down on how you talk about yourself and your ICP and brand positioning is the most important thing that you can do. And from there, you then have to talk about that in a consistent way everywhere across the internet in the places that you control.
Makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of what you just shared there is information schools have, most of it, not all, especially when you think about who our students are. I think if I ask clients, I know when I ask a client, they can give me an answer to that, but it's rarely documented in some internal piece of information or documentation. And if it is, admissions may have it, but marketing may not. And it's not always shared across, or maybe marketing has it, admissions does not. And so that, or maybe they both have their own set. Right. Now that I think about it, I have seen that before. So getting that crystal clear becomes more and more important. And so if one office has it, it needs to be shared and agreed upon. If offices have a different version, you got to bring them together because that's going to impact that. And I would imagine that means the values that you start to declare and the mission you start to declare on the website. If other information is out there that shows you're not living up to that, that might actually potentially hurt you in some instance. So if you've not updated those or looked at those in a long time, you want to be sure that those are accurate and real for you. So here's the thing. You and I have been talking a lot about how to address this. And one of the reasons I want to have you on is because you and the team at Search Tides, you have put together a masterclass.
Yes.
This is not a fee, right? This is a free thing, a free masterclass. And we're going to have one for colleges and universities. And that's coming up. We're going to have the dates and the description or the date and the link to register are all in the description here. And so if you're interested, click that, join us for it. This is a great opportunity where we're going to dive more deeply into those 5 factors that Drew talked about. And we're going to start helping you think about how to address all of those in this masterclass. If you catch this episode after the event, then just connect with me as we might look to add a second one in the near future beyond that. But I know coming up this fall, we have that. Again, the link to register and the date and time of the event are in the description. So please join us for that. We do have it at a limited number of seats. We're not going to have 200 people in this event. I want to make this an effective working session. So we're talking a maximum of 20 to 24 in there. And when that fills, we'll look at a second offering. So please reach out to me if you missed that one or it's filled up so we can get you in for the next one. I think there we're going to pause. Drew, thank you for joining me. Thank you for shedding the light on this topic. This is something every institution needs to be thinking about. If you're not talking about this at the senior cabinet level and looking at how you can begin to work to address this, you need to get that on the agenda before the shift really happens. I don't know the impact on inquiries coming in through your website because of this. And until we know that, I wouldn't wait to find out to then address it. That's my fear. If I put on my enrollment management hat, that's my fear. So please get this on the agenda. Attend this masterclass with us. Find some other path if you miss it to ensure you're learning about this and you start to develop a plan to address it. It's really, really important. So Drew, thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for joining us on the show. I'm very, very appreciative and grateful for you giving your time.
Thanks so much. Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do the masterclass.
Awesome. I'm really excited. We're going to have fun, and you're going to learn a lot in that for sure. So thank you again for joining us, everyone. Until next time, stay tuned. Please like and subscribe. Help us out. That'll help more people find out about AEO or whatever label we want to put on it. But as we look at how to address this, that will help them find this as well because it's very important information. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.